Let's go to Brad Thor now, who is a good friend with could be some of the people that actually were involved in this raid. Do you know yet, Brad, if you know any of the people involved?
I know that I was with a bunch of SEAL team guys over the weekend, and a couple of guys that were supposed to be there were not there. They had been called away. But, with something like this, Glenn, we'll see. But the facts here is that they would have been training on this for a while. They didn't just put this together in, 48 hours. They mocked up an exact replica of this compound, probably somewhere in Afghanistan, and they've been hitting it every single way, running every kind of problem that could happen. So this didn't just happen overnight. They've been working on it since at least February.
Now I got an email from somebody who knows these things, and he said, and tell me what you think of this, because you just said the SEAL team that went in, and that's what's being reported. While it makes no difference to the story press is reporting SEALs did the op yesterday, it's not true. The military does not acknowledge the existence of Tier 1 assets, to include the SEALs Development Group.
You've nailed it right on the head. First, let's get something clear here. This was not just the SEALs. There may have been SEALs involved with this, but just to give you one example, the SEALs don't have indigenous air assets in Afghanistan. They can't get over the Hindu Kush over there. They would need Army MH-47 Chinooks to be able to fly that high and get over. They're going to need the Air Force to refuel them. The best example I can give here is if your listeners, Glenn, want to picture what this thing looked like. Picture the movie Black Hawk Down, but successful, okay? That's what happened here. You dropped in at least 100 guys, okay? So you're going to have no fewer than 4 of these Chinook helicopters. You're going to set up a perimeter. You're going to go in. You're going to hit the objective. You're going to do Bin Laden. But this is not like a group of 6 guys in that Charlie Sheen movie that went in and did Bin Laden. This was a pretty intense operation.
An MH-47E, it's kind of a Chinook helicopter. It's an upgrade.
It's the Army's version of it. You'll remember that your good pal Marcus Luttrell, when they went in and tried to get Marcus out, that it was one of those helicopters. It might have been a different variant, but it was the MH-47 that actually took an RPG through the back and crashed against the side of the mountain and dropped into that ravine and killed a bunch of those were Army aviators from the 160th, the Night Stalkers, and there were SEALs on board. So
there are 26 of these helicopters, or that's how many were made by Boeing. They can't continue. They're just not getting them produced, and we're losing them. How much of an asset was that? That wasn't just a helicopter we left on the ground there.
Oh, it was millions and millions and millions of dollars that we blew in place, and that brings you back. You remember that in Black Hawk Down, how they blew that Black Hawk helicopter, and that's another thing. This was not a bunch of Black Hawk helicopters that flew over with the guys with all the equipment and everything and how heavy they are. Normally, if you could, you would bring in a different variant, a real beefy, the 53 version of the Chinook to pick up the downed, the Chinook that landed heavy and couldn't fly again. But these guys didn't have the time, and they didn't want to waste any lives, and so they did what's called blowing it in place so that all the enemy's going to get is the charred remains of that helicopter.
Tell me about SEAL Team 6, because I thought SEAL Team 6 was one that kind of operates in the shadows and is...
Listen, there's been no official comment as to... This is, at some point, Glenn, we're going to hear the Marines were involved in this, too, because everybody wants a piece of this action, okay? So we know
Sure.
the Air Force...
Well, in a way, everybody was.
And they should be.
Yeah.
Listen, it's the way it should be. This was not just, and the SEALs are fantastic, but listen, I'm already hearing that there were Delta Force guys on the ground there. They're also known as Combat Applications Group, the CAG guys. So
Tell me the difference. Can you rank them? I mean,
Yeah.
who are the... CAG is the baddest of the bad, right?
Well, here's the thing, and this is not to be pejorative. If we can look at this in a sports terminology, your high school state champions would be like your Army Rangers, okay? Your top college athletes would be your Green Berets and your SEALs. And then you go to pro athletics, and you go to the Pro Bowl, and that's where you have at the very top there, and this is where we get into what we call the black side, are the SEALs and the Delta Force guys. Now, SEAL Team 6, after a lot was written about it, changed their name to Naval Special Warfare Development Group, or DEV Group for short, so that the government could say, we don't know what you're talking about. Well, there is no SEAL Team 6. And it's the media that's pinned this SEAL Team 6 there. There's been nothing from the Pentagon, nothing from the White House.
Oh, so they haven't announced that this was SEAL Team 6?
No, this is just what's spun out in the media. There's nobody that said it's SEAL Team 6, and technically there is no SEAL Team 6.
Right.
It's not called
SEAL
that
Team
anymore.
SEAL Team 6. These are the guys that most likely, if I'm not saying they did this, but something like, do you remember when they downed all those UPS planes last summer?
Where they were trying to put all the printer cartridges on there with the...
Yeah, and they were saying, I was fascinated by that. They would show these devices, and they would call them bomb-like devices, but they weren't bombs. And I thought, who would do that? Oh, wait a minute. SEAL Team 6 might do something like that to test our defenses.
Well, it's interesting because Dick Marcinko, famous for his Rogue Warrior books and for drawing a lot of attention to SEAL Team 6, Dick was part of something called their Red Cell program. And red selling, you and I have talked about the red selling I've done with the Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah.
The SEALs have done it for testing the integrity of military bases.
Correct.
So this is something that goes on a lot in the military and intelligence communities where we test ourselves. If we want to pose and have access to the same tools, and if we want to act like terrorists and think like terrorists, we should be testing ourselves to see where we're weak. And
so you're saying, wait a minute, are you saying that they don't test things, that are beyond military? Because that's what I would want them to do.
Oh, no, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. The power plants and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of cooperation that goes on even between the military and the private sector for doing that stuff.
Now, do you really believe that the guys who picked up Bin Laden gave him a nice little Muslim sponge bath and dressed him in his nice whites and then threw him in the water?
When I got done throwing up, when I heard that politically correct spin put out there, my thing is I think the guy's head should be put on a pike outside Ground Zero. I think we should show people how we treat our enemies and the fact that we would respect Muslim sensibilities. Yeah, I bet there's an order, Glenn. I bet that there was an order that this is what you have to do. I wouldn't be surprised, whether it was done or not. But by the way, last time I checked the map, there's really no oceans that close to Afghanistan. And, I mean, you're going to have to get on a plane. If they really did dump this guy, they wrap him in the sheet, they chain him up like Houdini, and they fly a C-130, I don't know, out over the Arabian Sea and open up the back door and kick him out. Here's one thing.
Still too good for him.
We'll start hearing over the next 6 months. This isn't the end of it today. I mean, I got to tell you, you got 100 guys there. Somebody snaps something with a camera phone. I mean, the key guy that'll write the book on this will be Mark Bowden, who wrote Black Hawk Down, Killing Pablo. He's the guy that has got those contacts in that community. They trust him. At some point, the story will come out. I hope Mark Bowden does it because he'll do a great job.
Oh, it'll be an amazing story. I just can't imagine that the cell phones weren't checked on something like this. I mean, this is somebody storming into Hitler's bunker. That's what this is. I mean, have you seen? We have them posted up at the Blaze. The pictures of the actual death site. I mean, this is where he was living, and
I was looking for the dialysis machine with a bullet through its head.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I didn't see
that either. I saw the blood on the floor, and that was taken. It's interesting. There's a lot of the story that we don't know, a lot of stuff that I think will eventually come out. There's been a lot of these great takedowns where, Uday and Qusay got, there was the 101st that got credit for it, and that was Delta Force. Pablo Escobar was done by Delta, but the Colombian forces got credit for it. You never hear Delta Force in the news. I love the SEALs, and I'm not saying the SEALs aren't some of the baddest mofos on the planet, but you never really hear anything about the Delta guys. They're quiet, and they're behind some of the biggest stuff. So I have no doubt Delta was there. We know the Air Force had to be involved for refueling with the Chinooks. So
SEALs, are you hearing what he's saying? He's saying you guys are pansies. That's what I heard. No.
They're bad.
That's what I heard. That's what the SEALs heard, and I think that's what America heard.
Nope. I'm saying it was a joint effort.
They're grappling down right in front of your back window right now.
Roping onto the roof of my office building. But listen, this was military working at its best, working together. And like I said, we know Air Force was there. I know the Delta guys were there. The SEALs were there. And I'm sure the Marines had some very important role in this, and that's great. All those people. And I wish there was a way we could have gotten the Coast Guard there, too, because there are some fantastic men and women. It would have been great to let them have a piece of that action, but that doesn't fall within their scope.
All right, man. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Glenn.
Brad Thor, best-selling New York Times author.